thank you very much for the opportunity to serve the people of St. Tammany Parish. Watch over us and help us do the best job that we all can. Amen.
Amen.
Chief Geisler, would you lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Seiden.
Here.
Ms. Tanner. Here. Mr. Impastato.
Here.
Mr. Burke. Here. Mr. Lachlan. And Mr. Corbin. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. As everybody here knows, the purpose of this committee is to try to be more efficient and not hurt, of course, service with St. Tammany Parish tax dollars. So we're going to begin with a committee process presentation. Mary Burkell has a PowerPoint set up. After that, we will answer questions. There'll be a three-minute time limit. We're going to do an hour-and-a-half hard stop on the meeting, but I do believe that should give us plenty of time to answer any questions and go over any topics you all would like to go over. We'll also talk about some potential topics that we have on the agenda already or that we're talking about possibly putting on future agendas, and we will move on from there. Ms. Burkell, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Please proceed.
So this is going to be kind of difficult because I'm sitting from here, but I hope y'all understand me having your back towards y'all. So the Government Efficiency Committee, this is our first official meeting, and this is specifically to make sure we're getting input from stakeholders and government agencies. So what is the foundation of the committee? First of all, the basic of what is that mission statement. It's dedicated to promoting transparency, accountability, and operational efficiencies across St. Tammany Parish taxing agencies, to foster collaboration among local government entities, to identify and eliminate redundancies, under cost-saving opportunities, and ensure responsible stewardship of public resources. And this committee seeks to enhance financial clarity, reduce past payer burden, and build a greater public trust in governance in St. Tammany Parish. Unfortunately, I think we're all aware of news articles and things that have happened in St. Tammany Parish in general with government agencies that have kind of deteriorated the trust over the years. And we have a responsibility and a job to foster that trust back for the greater good of our community, to make sure they're trusting us with their tax dollars to do all those necessary services for our community to continue to thrive. So first and foremost, our objectives, what are we looking to do? The biggest one, I think, is to foster a collaboration. I think we have some, and I'll just use them as an example, the fire chiefs have their fire chief association, so they meet regularly so they can collaborate and work with each other. But looking that on a broader scale, looking at tax-paying agencies, where can we better collaborate with one another? Identify opportunities to share or pool resources. Once again, I'm just coming up with random things, so please apologize. But one thing that comes to mind is rec districts and how important their social media and promoting events to get members to participate. If they could pool their resources, because probably not every rec district can afford to do that on their own. Opportunities like that.
Mary, while you're saying that, that's
Yes.
a very good point. And we talk about this committee could be the facilitator of bringing those direct districts or any other agencies together when they are trying to look to eliminate redundancies. And go ahead, I just wanted to mention that.
Sure. Foster future funding needs. I, as someone who works for government and looks at St. Tammany Parish government's budget, as we know, our property millages don't really increase as much, right? Sales tax increases have increased traditionally in our community very quickly. Those increases, I'm sure all of y'all have felt, are not increasing with our health insurance rates going up, right? And our property tax insurance. So we really need to be forward thinking and deciding how we're going to deal with that as we move in the future. Identify potential revenue sources to support tax reform initiatives. So we got to think, in my personal opinion, we have to start thinking out the box. We went through a very long time where the public did trust government, and pretty much everything that went on the ballot kind of passed. And we're not in that environment anymore, and we as government agencies have to change and have to adjust to that. enhance operational efficiencies and effectivenesses, and then review the needs of government agencies seeking council approval for ballot measures. So these are the overall objectives. As y'all know, we already did roll call. Who are those committee members? This committee will be aided by myself as the council administrator, the parish government's director of finance, Annie Perkins, ADA Emily Cuvion, and Gina Hayes. While she's not up there, I'm sure will be heavily involved in this committee. We're also encouraging all government agencies to participate. We are the experts, right? We work with government budgets. It's amazing when I talk to people outside of government, accountants in those positions, they really don't understand how government finance works, right? They don't have dedicated pots of money. They don't have some of the constraints that government agencies do. So really encouraging getting participation from all those government agencies and people that have a lot of historical experience and knowledge. And we want to encourage the community to engage in this process. Obviously, we're doing it for the community, so the more input we get, the better the byproduct will be. And obviously, if there is a subject matter expert, someone that we need assistance, we'll do that on an as-needed basis. So what is this committee? Okay, that's all really nice and good, but what does that mean in reality? So there's two basic things that this committee is going to do. One is collaborative initiatives. So when we go into a collaborative initiative, we're going to have brainstorming, research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So obviously brainstorming. Today is the first step in brainstorming. To hear from y'all, what are your ideas? What do you think are things that this committee should consider? I think a lot of us, I know I've worked for parish government for 15 years, we have a lot of off-the-cuff conversations when we see each other at meetings, after the meeting, or at a coffee shop, and we come up with these great ideas, but without a formal process to really vet those, sometimes those ideas never get off the ground. So this is a great opportunity for us to come together to be able to see, is that idea even viable, right? Is that worth pursuing? So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to brainstorm like today. We're going to have meetings, and we're going to talk to experts and stakeholders and decide where we go from there. Next, we need to do some research. And the main point of that is before we put too much time into it, is it even viable? You know, we need to look at state and local laws. There's a lot of things a lot of agencies are restricted on because of state laws. And then that begs the question, if it's a really good idea and that would help everyone, do we need to go talk to our state legislative delegation? Do we need to go to them and saying, this state law impairs us from doing our job better? And I have an example of that later in the PowerPoint. Is that something we need to pursue? After we decide, yes, it is something that the state law and local laws, let's say, it's maybe an industry standard or a best practice, then we need to see, will it actually produce cost savings, right? Will it actually produce a benefit that we should pursue? And then the benefit cost analysis. If it's going to cost us, I think in government, sometimes we forget, sometimes I love this term, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Sometimes the effort you put into it is going to save you so little that it's not really worth it, right? Because your resources are so limited. So that has to be a question, I think, before we get too deep in any of these ideas that we need to ask ourselves. And then lastly, we need to, at the last part of the research, who do we need to identify to make sure they're part of the conversation? So as we go into the next step, we make sure everyone's at the table. Next, we go on to planning and implementation. Obviously, trying to get feedback from the committee, trying to really define it, and then confirm that feasibility, and then talking to the stakeholders and really deciding, can this be done, how can it be done, and how can we do it together? And the last, the evaluation. Coming from an education background, evaluation of something you do is so important. You need to see if it actually produces anything, right? So that's why I'm so intentional to add that as part of the process. Let's say we come up with an initiative, let's say talking about PIO for rec districts. Did it really help the rec districts? Look at it several months later. Is it really helping them get more people signing up for their programs or volunteering or whatever their needs are? So I think that's a really important part of this conversation and should be formally discussed during these committee meetings. Not just something that is done behind doors. That's what the great part of having a council committee is. It's all up front in the public, so we all can be privy to that information. The other thing that this committee will focus on besides these collaborative initiatives is ballot measures. So as y'all know, there's a lot of government agencies that have to come before the council to put a ballot measure on or a proposition on a ballot. So this process looks a little bit different. Obviously, we're going to have selection, kickoff meeting, review, recommendations, and evaluation. So first, selecting a certain person, or I shouldn't say person, a certain group to look at is the first. So there's some criteria. If the entity is requesting additional capital funds, if they're under financial strain, if they have a dedicated funding source that's going to expire within the next 4 years, if a council member recommends the review, or from public input. This isn't meant to be an I gotcha. This is meant to be us supporting each other so we all have the best organization and we can all be proud when we go out in public to say we work for St. Tammany Parish. And whether it's in a fire district or mosquito abatement or the library or whatever we may be, we see ourselves more as a support of each other and not separate entities. So the first thing is when the committee decides to do this, decides to look at an organization because of this ballot measure, first, I think the most important thing is communication, right? Between the committee and between the organization itself. So this committee will pick a monitoring lead. It could be a committee member, it could be a staff member, whoever they choose. And it's that person's responsibility to make sure that communication is clear, timely, and remains open through the entire process. So that way, as y'all know, it's not often what you do, it's how you do it. And I think having that monitor lead from the beginning where that communication is established is going to be critical for these moving forward. And to make sure that it is that support mentality, make sure that it's a collaboration. One thing that, we have talked a lot about is in parish government, animal services is coming up within the next 4 years, less than that, for another ballot initiative. This is something really that would be great for them. It's more of, let us be able to stand by you and know for sure this is what we need as a community. How can we best support and communicate our needs? So after that liaison is chosen, there will be a kickoff meeting that will be formalized to make sure everyone's on the same page. So that organization will know the purpose and objectives, including the scope and timeline. So they know it's not going to go on for 10 years and it's not going to go on, there is going to be a start and an end. If some documents are already known or some data that would be helpful, it'd be really great to start talking about that and obviously talking about how to share it. We all have IT departments that lock us down with information to protect us. So sometimes that exchange of information can be difficult. Also, scheduling of when those follow-up meetings will be and addressing those initial questions and concerns to make sure that it's that open discussion. Then the review will happen. They might submit some follow-up questions to the organization, request additional data, or I think it's really great, you actually have to go see the organization. Right? It's really hard to understand it until you go and see it for yourselves. One time I was over in Slidell and I see Chuck Brandon, so it makes me think of it. And I saw a library I've never gone to before. And it really put into perspective having those shorter bookshelves and how important that is to the library and how having that, the right environment, how that helps with operation and can cut down with employees. So going to those facility tours will be critical. And then, some of the review, as we all know, a lot of us are in government agencies. Some of this is already on your websites or part of your audits, financial statements, budgets, operational procedures and workflows, and organizational performance metrics, if you have them. Depending on your organization, it's going to look a little different. Next will be the recommendation. So the report, there's going to have to be a report, right? There's going to have to be an end product. So it should recognize the organization's strengths, overview of the organization's financial stability, and that's all across the board. There's a lot of different reasons why an organization is financially stable or not, right? Identification of potential risk or liabilities and opportunities for cost savings, any suggestive legislative changes, and any recommendations for greater transparency. This report will be written in draft form. It will be given to the organization so they can review it and make comments. If there's something maybe in that is incorrect or not accurate, there will be an opportunity to discuss that. Then it'll be presented to the committee and then finally to the council. And once again, I'm not going to forget about that evaluation process. So as of right now, Chairman Impastato, this is kind of where we've gotten to as far as the foundation and process of this committee. We did want to touch upon the next thing on our agenda is potential topics, I think it's called. So like I said, this meeting, we're starting that initial collaboration and brainstorming process. So that's what those potential topics are. So we thought it best to share with y'all some things that have been just talked about and floated around. Some of it is our tax structure as a whole as St. Tammany Parish. We've also talked about a state statute to change the Roll 4 requirement to maintain voter approval for millage rates. As y'all know who have property taxes, to maintain what the voters approved, you have to roll up to it in that 4-year cycle. That encourages people to collect more than maybe what they need. And maybe if that's something we can change on the state level, I think that would really show us working hard to save those tax dollars. At one of these meetings, I heard one of the rec districts talk about consolidating insurance coverage. Is there a way, their government properties, can we get a better rate if we work together and maybe have a CEA or have something where we can do that? And then some of us on some of the parish government side specifically, we have several drainage districts where we have a public works department. So we need to look at those drainage districts. Are they still necessary? They've been around some probably before I was born. So it's time to relook at those, see are they still necessary, or is it better for parish government to handle those districts? Garbage districts, there's a lot of talk of how much garbage trucks tax our roads. And as y'all know, roads, we need to maintain them as best we can, and we always never have enough money for that. So if we can do something to make sure the roads can last longer, that's something we need to look at. And then last thing, lighting districts. I think we have about 15 lighting districts in our parish. They're all over the place. Some of them are millage rates, some of them are parcel fees. There's no real rhyme or reason, right? They just came up over the last 20 plus years. So it's time to kind of take a step back and look at those. Is it better to have one, or is it better to have zones? Or, so it's more equitable across the parish. Because right now, if you say, the street in front of my house is very dark, I think it's dangerous, the first question is, what's your address so we know if you're in a lighting district or not? And I think, and it's so specific. So I think it's an opportunity for us making sure there's more equality in the level of services that our citizens have by looking at those separate districts. So that is all I have prepared.
Great job, Ms. Burkell. So why don't we go to some questions? I think there's a lot. Did we do speaker cards?
Yes. Sorry. You can do it in after. Just so I have
Even if you want to fill it out after the fact and come ask so we can get the ball rolling, that will be fine, Chief Kaufman. I don't want to come up. I told him at the top of the meeting when we first came up.
Yeah, but you can do it after. Yeah. And I'm sorry, if I can just mention one thing. I'm so sorry, y'all. The AC broke in this room. I promise you it was not intentional. So just please be patient with us as we try to handle that.
How do you want to call them first?
So my question for clarification, Mary, is...
And look, before,
What's that?
I know we know who you are, but state your
I'm
name for
sorry.
the record, and there'll be a we're all going to do 3 minutes per speaker since we have somebody.
Sure.
so many
Well, I
people
thought we were
here.
just doing questions at the moment.
Well, but in case the question is maybe 3 minutes, and there's rebuttal.
It's a real quick question. Kevin Caillouet, Executive Director for St. Tammany Parish Mosquito Abatement. You said agencies. I think a lot of the folks in the room are not from agencies. We're not an agency. We are a district, a special service district. Are there other agencies in the room? Anyone here from parish government agency? So we've got one. Everyone else is from a special district? Okay. I mean, so that's just the general question, is there's no agencies in the room for the collaborative approach. And also just to know that special districts have different requirements, different laws that apply to them. And from the special district standpoint, we are beholden to the taxpayers that dedicated the service. And so that's what we have to answer whenever we're reviewing services fully. So just that point of clarification, you really mean all special districts as well as parish agencies, offices, departments, all that kind of thing. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caillouet. Are there any other questions? Mr. Kaufman and that, Chief Kaufman and Mr. Hall, you can go right next.
Chris Kaufman, Fire Chief, Fire District Number 1. Joe, you and I had several conversations about this. I don't think on the fire department side anybody's concerned about having a meeting with the committee and do whatever deep dive the committee wants to do. It's the process. We also talked about this new process, which corrected the first process to be totally transparent. Part of that process was to bring all taxing bodies together to put the purpose of this committee out there, but also get feedback. But it was also to make up the committee. It appears today the committee's already been selected. I see that you can add subject matter experts.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I recommended, because if you don't understand the agency, its purpose or language, you behind before you even get started. So little question mark about that, because who picked the committee, I guess, is one question I have.
No, when we announced at the council meeting, as the chairman, I selected the committee. So the committee is primarily made of council members. All the meetings will be public. The date of the committee meeting, Mary, what is?
Yes, sir. It's on y'all's agenda, all the meeting dates, but I'll also have a paper if you want to sign up after and give me your email if you want to be notified if you didn't get the email today or just want to make sure you're on the list, let me know.
So for instance, if we were looking at Recreation District 4 for some reason, we have no plans to look at any fire districts, but if we were, then we would want, first of all, it should have been initiated probably from a fire district, but if it wasn't, then any meetings like that would be where we'd include experts in that field, which would be probably board members or fire department personnel.
Again, I'm going to go back to transparency, because obviously I think this can work if it's put together correctly and communicated transparently to not only the taxing bodies, taxing districts, special taxing districts, and the public. You know, I go back to, Mary, something you said very early on. You said they don't trust it's not that they don't trust everybody, because when I look at the library, the hospital, fire departments, police departments, all of our millages or taxes have passed. It's the parish government's tax that hasn't passed. There is definitely a non-trust perception in St. Tammany Parish to government, a complete disconnect. I have said it over and over to you and several other people that has to be rebuilt. And we're talking about parish government heading a committee to go do these assessments into agencies. And I got question marks about, is it cost savings? Is it government efficiency services? Are we looking for money? I think the first agency should have been a committee put together to go through parish government, because we're talking about
But
possible.
Chief Kaufman, I will tell you, this committee will look at parish
I
government.
think it should be first, though, Joe.
It may be.
Because if we're talking about an agency, you use the word subject matter experts. I question that depending on what are we talking about. If I put a committee together to look into parish government for the same questions and reasons for government efficiency, let's start at the top, which is where the non-trust is. Let's fix that first. I'm saying let's fix that first. Build on that moving forward. Create a committee maybe from some other council people from other parishes, no different than you want to create today. And you would then have a foundation to say, if we do decide to take any services under parish government services, that we already operating efficiently as a parish government. Our parish administration does not work hand in hand with parish council. That is apparent. I think the public has seen that. Has to be fixed. I don't think anybody's opposed to the process. I go back to making sure we're transparent and understand what we're trying to achieve here. We have the 4th largest parish, 3rd fastest growing. I preach this. Quality of life, people want to move here. But we caused more commotion in the last 4 months in agencies. I'm going to use the word agencies in general. The public is confused on what is happening. The March ordinance had investigate. In the PowerPoint said the DA's staff. I have said it publicly, and I'm going to say it again today. The DA himself, his staff, does not need to be involved in any of this.
Chief
We are
Coffin, let me correct
damaging
you on
our
a couple of
DA.
things. I
I'm sorry?
understand, but hold on, let me correct you on a couple of things. One, we do work with the administration. We don't have a terrible relationship with them. We work
didn't
with
say
them
you
every
did.
day. That's the way I took it.
No, you took it
Two,
wrong then.
I'm sorry. The district attorney's staff, remember, they do operate the civil division.
That's
So we rely on them on a regular basis for assistance and input when it comes to legal matters. And this is a representative from district attorney's staff here, just so you understand. They're not leading the charge. You did see the new structure of the committee, very different than what it was initially, for the purpose of making sure you all are very comfortable.
Just so you understand, that is the very uncomfortable reason that I said it. The word investigate was in the first ordinance. When people do things wrong, the DA would come in because something has been done wrong.
understand.
That was not
But
what
we're
was done
beyond
with
that,
the.
right?
Well, I'm not so sure because it says DA staff, and we're talking about an office that don't have permanent funding that we understand was connected to this whole process in the beginning. I have a proposition to help fund the justice system. I've been talking about it. It's out there. We're gonna have agency meetings. I'm looking for a solution. Should it be fire service? Me? Absolutely not. I go back to parish government taking the lead in fixing some of this stuff. But I go back to we're damaging our DA and the justice system because this is totally not their responsibility. And an agency that talks about funding cut from parish government, but we're going to have staff to be able to go do some of these other things. I'm not even sure what yet. I go back to, I said it before, parish council, finance, subject matter experts. I have a past board member that was willing to serve on the committee. I told him wait till Joe calls for the meeting. I didn't know the committee was going to be picked before we ever had a public meeting with the agencies, because we had that conversation. So I go back to transparency. I may have some other questions. I'm just saying that if this is going to work, I said it to you before, it has to be done correctly and completely transparent. And I think I echo several of the people in the audience today. I've talked to many people. Everybody wants our parish to flourish and really be efficient. We can find efficiencies along the way.
Sure.
There's no question about those things.
And that's what we're
I
organized to
lead
do.
an agency that is internationally third 5-year term. I had an outside international group of people come in and say we're meeting 280 performance indicators that are above minimum standards. Fire District 4 as well. We have 2 of the only agencies in the state of Louisiana in this parish. And I only say that because we can assist and help in some of what we're talking about, government efficiencies, because we have done some of those things in the fire service. And we're the only agencies in this parish that meet twice a month to be more efficient as a fire service, even though we have individual districts. So I'm gonna sit down because I think I've spoke out enough about what my questions would be, not opposed to anything other than the process and how it's put together. And I did ask the question, what is the primary goal? Is it funding, looking for funding, or we're trying to increase deliverables?
The primary goal is to be more efficient with tax dollars across the board. If you look at the tax structure we talked about, you see about the options that we're looking at. One would be a resolution we're looking at to facilitate if rec districts or any other districts want to work together on consolidating certain aspects like an insurance program. We're looking at the potential of doing a garbage district in Ward 7 to look at the expansion of that for greater efficiency. There's several things. We're looking internally at Public Works, a little variety of things. We talked about 410s for Public Works departments. There's a lot of things internally that we're taking the lead on. That's why we started this committee. Initially, along with the district attorney, it's called TRAC. As a transfer, the district attorney removed himself from it. Of course, they're always going to be an advisory because they are our counsel. I know he reached out to you and to the school board about working on some other measures and that y'all are trying to do to help try to generate some revenue, which I think is very good. But we are taking the lead. We're working with the administration, and we're doing the best we can to do a better job on spending people's tax dollars.
All righty. Thank
I
you.
don't think it could be any more transparent. Are there any more questions? Do we have any other committee members like to ask any questions? Dr. Kaiwe, please step up to the podium. Take your time.
Thank you, Kevin Calumet again, mosquito abatement. Thank you, Chief. I was waiting for the question, but anyway, I love the commentary. I don't have any more questions, but I have some collaborative, in the spirit of collaboration, suggestions. I think we've talked about some of them already. One is to have a sort of annual conference of looking at assets and equipment that both parish government and agencies like ours or districts like ours could share use and engage in sort of lease agreements.
Excellent.
For those kind of things. That could include equipment and assets, but it could also include core administrative services. I met yesterday with Grant Black, IT director for parish government, to talk about ways we could share IT resources already. That could include accounting, human resources, GIS and remote sensing, facilities management and facilities maintenance, as well as potentially fleet management and maintenance too. Those are all things that we can discuss and see what might work best for all of these entities, and find where there are economy of scales to reduce costs for everybody as a whole. And not just in a one-directional parish government to the districts, but in a back and forth both way direction. If there's some expertise that we can fill that parish government needs, for instance, our aircraft and our drones that can collect imagery and remote sensing data and that kind of thing, that can get around the $300,000 that the parish government and the assessor's office spends collecting imagery every 2 years. You know, we have that expertise in-house. So this should be a two-way street with those kind of sharing of resources. Finally, I do have, so I did draft 2 documents that I'd like to give to the committee. I don't want to belabor it by reading them off. I do have more copies for everybody as well. But one does address,
And Kevin, we don't have a lot of speakers, so if you'd like to read it, go ahead.
I don't think you want me to read it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I like getting it out there. I mean,
I would like you to read it.
All right, so on this one, if we're going to talk about special service district ballot reviews, obviously we're talking about agencies as well, but for a ballot review of council, recognizing that council approves resolutions to call elections, we want a fair process for that. That's what we're after. So a special service district, our special service districts in general uphold the highest standards in public service and accountability. To demonstrate this responsibility to the public and to the parish council, I'm proposing the following process for a millage ballot approval review. Number 1 is basically a checklist. Has the agency demonstrated a commitment to reducing redundancy in local government by participating in both the asset equipment sharing conferences and also participating in conferences to share core administrative services if possible? And number 2, has the agency performed financial and statewide agreed upon procedure testing performed by an independent CPA firm and has worked to address those findings that they've received? And then number 3, it could be an and/or, doesn't have to exist. The agency's participated in independent service audit performed by a subject matter expert, consultant, or accreditation body to demonstrate services offered and expenses are in line with industry best practices. This independent service audit would adhere to the following criteria. A, subject matter experts would be approved by the parish council and the agency under review or district under review. This subject matter expert review would be free of conflicts of interest or any other bias to ensure a fair review process based on the industry standards. The agency's response to the service audit findings would be published together with the final report. The public who's dedicated these tax funds for the service would receive direct engagement by way of a 30-day open public comment period on the service audit findings with 2 town hall style community meetings to address potential changes in the service resulting from the findings. This one's pretty critical because it's the public that every 10 years renews our millages for that service. And so if the committee's making changes that the public may not be aware of or may not agree with their changes to that dedicated service, we really need to fully engage the public in that process. Let's see, where are we at? The agency will participate in, but not limited to, an opening meeting, a tour of the facilities, and an in-person review of the services prior to the completion of the report, and an in-person discussion of the findings before the report is finalized. This process will strive for efficiency to consolidate tours and meetings so that the agency's time is not wasted. F, a standard set of necessary documentation will be created for efficiency in the communication of services provided and attributable expenses. Essentially, a checklist that you would offer each district. What are the documents you would request from us to review? Just 2 more. G, the process will be governed by a clear timeline and timetable of phases. And finally, the service audit process and final report must be published prior to being considered for a millage renewal ballot by the Parish Council. And since this may delay the process for parish agencies such as ours seeking to be placed on a ballot, that process should be initiated no later than 2.5 years prior to the millage revenue expiring. If we get backed up too much into our millage renewal period, it's going to mess up the process, as we're kind of in that right now in terms of just lots of ill will, out in the public at this point being thrown at us from the past process. So that's what I'd like to submit. Thank you.
I think that was great input, and I really appreciate it, especially the efforts of you working with this administration to consolidate some of those things that we probably should have looked at in the past. I think this is the first time anything of this magnitude has ever been done in St. Tammany Parish. So we're going to continue to work hard. We're going to continue to work together, be transparent, Chief Kaufman. That's important to all of us as well. And look, the main idea at the end of the day is to try to do a better job with tax dollars and to be more efficient and to keep working together. So thank you very much for your input. Are there any other questions or committee members? I guess can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, hold on one second.
Merrick Tossan, I'm retired fire chief of St. Tammany District 4. I'm also on the 911 board. I think one issue that needs to be addressed is the lack of trust between the parish and the citizens. There's definitely a disconnect. Obvious stated before, the library board, the fire districts, some of the other districts have passed their millages where the parish hasn't. There's been a tremendous amount of work done over the past to fund the sheriff's the jail, the DA, the courthouse, and the judges. A tremendous amount of work, and it's all failed. I think we need to get to the root of the problem and find out specifically if you have to hire a consultant or something like that to find out where that exact disconnect is and where that mistrust is. I think that's something else that has to be discussed along with these measures. Because if you go through this whole entire process and it doesn't improve the public trust, then you've lost everything. It's been a waste. So along with this, I seriously consider that y'all look and see what specifically is the citizens' issue, why they won't pass parish taxes. And I think if you dive into it deeply, then you can get a better understanding of what the public wants. I mean, obviously, if they pass a library tax, which a lot of people thought was going to fail, they do support taxes. So it's not like they're against all taxes.
Well, I think that's a great point. I would say this, the parish has passed several. They passed a drainage millage. I'm sure there's probably some others. The library passed, but remember, take this in consideration. Library, who I think was the model for doing a great job, reduced their millage substantially. We did an overhaul of the board. I think a lot of good things happened in order for that library tax to pass. They had a fantastic director that did a great job going out there and promoting the library and explaining, and they provide service to a lot of people and have done a great job for it. Mary, aside from the drainage millage, I know we've had a problem passing one tax, but have there been other parish-wide taxes that have passed over the last 5 years?
Yeah, the health tax.
Health tax failed.
Yes. The animal
Coroner's
services.
tax failed. Animal services passed.
Passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, I think
I agree with you.
You know, I mean, you've got a couple of them that passed, but the big one, which is a big concern, I mean, we have to fund the jail. We have to fund the DA. We have to fund the judges. We have to fund the maintenance of the courthouse. That's important. And we need to dive down into it and find out from the public, from a consultant or somebody out of the area that can come in and look in and say, what is the root of the problem? How come we can do such a good job with the library, such a good job with animal services? How come we haven't done a good job with this? And that's all I've got to say.
I think you're 100% right. But also remember, that's not the only driver of this. Regardless of passing that tax or not, we still want to do the best job that we can and understand what we need to vote on. In regards to taxes, Ms. Tanner?
I know I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm a woman, and you know how we change our mind a whole lot. So I am going to make a statement.
Oh, hold on one second, Ms. Tanner. Your microphone, something's not working.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have asked since the defeat of the election, I think it was in May, when we went to the ballot. Was that in May, Mary?
March 23rd.
I have asked that we hire a consultant to do a poll, to ask some questions, very serious questions about the parish and the trust and what the council can do, what the administration can do. Where do we need to start? I think we have maybe a write-up of that, but it hasn't happened yet. I would be very interested, and I know the questions has to be phrased in a certain way to get what we want, but I would like to see that. I would like to know what the poll and what the public thinks, really, about a lot of issues and about what went wrong and what we can do as a council and as administration to start over, repair, whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tanner. Mr. Burke?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple of things. You know, I love this parish. I came here many, many years ago, I think it was about 40 years ago, because of a better quality of life. And I do appreciate the comments. I think just from listening to my constituents in my district, there is a certain level of mistrust in government, but there's also, they've gotten to a threshold when it comes to taxes in this parish. I'm in the real estate business and the finance business, and I can tell you for every person that comes into the parish, I'm financing two in Bay St. Louis or Biloxi or Mississippi, Carrier. People are leaving because of the high taxes. They're leaving because of high insurance as well. So I think that, yes, there may be a level of mistrust, but there's also, I think the taxpayers in this parish have reached a threshold and said, no more, we don't want no more. So as a government, we've got to look at everything and say, how can we tighten our belts? How can we give the taxpayers some relief? And I think that's the purpose of this committee, and I hope that we can all work together to accomplish that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burke. Mr. Laughlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say, I would like to build on the former chief's point and the other Chief Kaufman's point too. Number one, we need to be extremely transparent. The people do not trust us. You have a 70% overturn of the council in the last council election. Most of us are new. That's still not enough. So we need to figure out what's going on, and to build on what my colleague, Mr. Burke, has said, I think the people are taxed out enough. I think we pay enough taxes in this parish. I'm a real estate agent. I'm in his boat. I'm actually going to get my license in Mississippi because there's so many people asking to move over there. So I think this is a good idea. I'm looking forward, and I'm kind of honored to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Please state your name and proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Chad Dannenhauer, resident of Folsom and counsel for several of the fire districts in St. Tammany Parish. One of the things, the challenges that I see with this particular committee is that it has to, by nature, be made up of individuals. And those individuals are going to be reviewing the processes and budgeting process and operations of other entities that by statute are independently managed from this particular group. And the first iteration of this group, we all know as the track committee, One of the issues that came up was individual opinions about superficial reviews of assets and budgets and operations became public. The concern I have with that is when a particular individual with a government position starts to opine about operations to the public, whether it be social media, at a council meeting, any other time, that opinion becomes influential inside the particular district, even though that particular individual may not have any control or management over the sub-district. That creates additional distrust with the people who are voting for our taxes. In particular, what I'm thinking about is the very public opinions about the mosquito abatement district that came out about certain assets they had. Essentially, they were implying there's something wrong with the mosquito abatement district having a helicopter. I have no idea what the operations of the mosquito abatement district are, and I have no idea what the need for that is. But I've seen enough of these districts to know they are trying to run efficiently. So I think it's irresponsible for anybody to opine on the operations without a full understanding of those operations. To that end, I don't know what you can do, but my question is, I'd ask you to ask the DA's office, what can you do to set rules in place to distinguish between producing facts and making your public opinions before the final result if you disagree with the management style of the particular district?
I think you bring up a very good point. I would say this, when we talk about trust in government, when we went out for the sales tax rededication, I went to approximately 80 meetings, homeowners groups, business groups, everywhere throughout the parish. And the consistent thing was we are overtaxed. They complained about the library. They complained about fire districts. They complained about the school district. I had people complain about Recreation District Number 1, which, in my opinion, I don't know, if you don't like what they're doing with their dollars and what they have provided, then you just can't philosophically like the idea of a taxing body. I don't know how it can get any better. People are tired of being overtaxed. They feel like they pay too much. They feel like there's a lot of disproportionate service in St. Tammany Parish. Why do we have such great recreation here and no recreation over here? So these are things we can discuss and work together on as we move forward and try to do a better job. But I don't think it's strictly parish government. I do think to a certain extent there's a lack of understanding that parish government receives a very small portion of taxes overall in St. Tammany Parish. We have a couple more speakers. Mr. Brandon Stein, Chief Stein, I'm sorry. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Chief Stein, Fire District 8. So I want to kind of hit on what Ms. Tanner said. The question she had was basically bringing in somebody to identify what the problem is, and kind of disagree with what Mr. Burke said. The people in this parish voted yes for an animal tax and no for a public health tax. The people in this parish told y'all an animal's life is more important than a human. That's not a tax problem, that's a process problem. So that's my opinion on it, but from what I hear in my district, they don't mind paying taxes as long as they know it's being spent correctly and for the right reasons. And if anybody that runs a taxing agency goes in front of the public and does not do their part to educate the public, the taxpayers, on what that money's being spent on and why, well, that's just a disservice you're doing. I do that throughout my district. I don't have anybody complaining about the services we provide. We have a lot of support in our district, but we take the opportunities to go educate the people. So it's a process problem. I don't think that it's a tax problem necessarily. Yeah, they're tired of paying taxes because they don't know what's being spent on. They don't know where it's going. So
by process, you mean educational?
It's a process problem from the time they pay it to you to the time it's spent and gone. It's a process problem. They need to know where that money's going. Same thing with this committee. You can't expect somebody to be on a committee and they have no idea what they're even looking at. So I mean, that's where the basically what I'm gonna say is We have a fire district board every month, a board meeting every month. Everything we do is out in the open. Come to our board meetings. If the parish council members were that concerned over what we're doing as a taxing body, I don't care if it's your district or not, because I've been told that by 3 different council members. Well, that's my district. That's not my district. I don't pay attention to that. What kind of service is that to the citizens of this parish as a whole? To sit there and tell me that's not my district, I'm not going. I don't care what your district line is. If you got elected to represent the people of this parish, it shouldn't be no line.
Well said.
Okay, so come to our meetings and learn about what we're doing already, that you're asking. A lot of the stuff you're asking us to do has been done for years. So in my opinion, you're wasting my time by not being educated ahead of time.
I appreciate your comments. I would say we're not trying to waste your time. We didn't ask you to even come. We haven't even decided to look at anything. No, it's okay. I think for all of us to work to do better, we have to work together. But I don't think there's been any discussion about looking at your fire department.
Well, I'm not saying it's
I understand. Ms. Terry Lewis Stevens, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
You just stated it.
I know, Ms. Stevens, but that's the rules, and thank you for bringing that out. It was very funny.
Terry
Proceed.
Lewis Stevens. I'm here as a member of the public. I think I heard you say a few minutes ago to the fire chief that you weren't here to look at the fire districts or the rec districts. Is that true? And if you're not looking at the fire districts or the rec districts, who's left in the room to look at? Oh my. I think there's really been a negative pallor that has been cast upon one particular special district in the parish. But that's not what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about the DA and his participation in the first track and going forward with
Ms.
this
Stevens,
track.
we're not going to talk about that.
Wait.
No, there's no way.
No.
We're not going to. We've already talked about that, and the district attorney is not here.
Aren't they a pass-through agency? And if they are a pass-through agency, aren't they to also be reviewed by this body?
Absolutely, they could be. They're reviewed by this body.
So
the
why are they not
Finance Committee
here?
reviews the district attorney's office. There was no mandate for anyone to be here. We did this at the request of everyone because we thought it was a better idea to be more transparent. Actually, Chief Kaufman suggested it, so we wanted to make sure everything was out in the open.
Then why are they not here? And how are they representing you while they're being investigated? And why are they participating in the investigations when they're one of the entities to be reviewed? That's what I don't understand.
Well, one, this is an informative meeting. There was no mandate for anyone to be here.
What about their participation in the investigations?
They would only participate as our legal counsel, which participates in every ordinance and every action we do. The district attorney's office represents us.
But it's a conflict of interest.
Well, you should come to the charter committee and speak about changing it.
I did, and I posted about it today when he spoke on April 10th about the conflict of interest that is very evidently apparent now. When you, and if you're the new ADA, sorry, welcome to St. Tammany. You need to understand that there's a conflict of interest if your agency is part of the investigations for any of these other agencies. When you're one of the agencies to be reviewed, it's a conflict of interest. It's a conflict of interest, and that is a problem for me as a person in the public. And I bet if you ask for a raise of hands here, how many people behind me think that would be a conflict of interest, I bet you'd see a couple. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Chief Kaufman?
Two things I want to recognize, because I have 2 of my Board of Commissioners present today. I have one member on our board's been there 17 years. We have an attorney. We have a medical salesperson. We have a past parish president. We have a retired military veteran, and a financial advisor who's been on the board 17 years. Councilman Laughlin, you well said that 70% of the council turned over January a year ago. One of the things we failed at was all of the appointments that the council makes to Board of Commissions throughout this parish have had little contact, little communication, and here we are today. And I said it once before, and I hate to repeat myself, but I have to. In some cases, those boards of commission put their time in. They have denied any compensation to serve on these boards and have been charged with learning these districts and making good quality decisions, and in some cases, a slap in their face. My second comment in the second time I come up to the podium is, Joe, you continue to talk about taxes and the public's fed up with taxes. You're talking to the one agency that brought out what happened in our last reassessment. And I asked this council to address it, to dive into it, because our public is outraged. My phone rang, of course, as a taxing body. And it's a real simple question. Look back 2 years. Adjusted mill rate supposed to be revenue neutral, and everybody's taxes went up, including mine. And we're sitting here dancing around the elephant about taxes when this entire parish had taxes put on them with nobody technically voting. 4 taxing bodies out of 38 rolled forward to the voter-approved millage maximum. 34 of them rolled back to the adjusted mill rate, which should have been revenue neutral. And you're looking at the agency that brought that out to the public and put everyone awareness about what transpired. It is still not settled today. I'm disappointed at the lack of any government agency diving into finding out why. And I think that put a lot of distrust in our public. I think it had something to do with the last vote for the justice system, because people are fed up. And I got to tell you, I'd want to know how my taxes went up when nobody voted for it.
Chief Kaufman, I think with all due respect, you know very well that issue is far from over with, and you know it should not be discussed. So I do.
Not to be discussed.
I don't
It's
think it
public
should
record.
be. But you understand where that's going, that it's far from over, and it has been looked into aggressively.
Did this
Right?
parish council address it publicly
Yes,
at a public meeting with the assessor?
several times.
Okay, because I wasn't aware of that. I stand
But aside
corrected
from
there.
that, you understand what's going on.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's one of the biggest issues, the
But
largest
that
tax
biggest issue
burden.
is not going
Yeah,
unaddressed.
but it's one of the reasons why we're here, because people are
Okay.
fed up with taxes.
I understand, but
And there was an increase with many taxing bodies not voting.
understood.
Yes, I just, again, Rick Tassan. I'd like to, the fire chiefs meet twice a month. On the third Thursday of the month at 9 o'clock, they meet right down the road at the Fire District Force Training Facility. There has been an open invitation for at least 2 council members to attend those meetings. I think in the spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and understanding, if we could have 2 council members attend those meetings, they could see how well the fire chiefs work together and get a better understanding of how efficient we are. So that's just my suggestion. Thank you very much.
I think that's a great suggestion. And Ms. Tanner, while we're going to Ms. Tanner, there's one thing I do want to point out. We did have a large turnover on the parish council, but 5 council members opted not to run again. So there was 4 council members that were newly elected against incumbent opposition. Ms. Tanner?
I just need that date again. I know I've been to the meetings, but it's been a while. You said at 9 o'clock?
Is something with our microphone?
Yes.
Excuse
me, 9 o'clock.
Is it working?
We can actually send the agenda to Mary, and we'll start sending our notice of the board meetings. But it's in most cases, unless there's a scheduling conflict, such as Thanksgiving and so forth. But it's the 3rd Thursday of the month, and it's at the Fire District 4 Training Facility right there on North Lane.
I've been there before. Okay,
Thank you.
Any other questions, Katrina? Committee, do you have anything else?
Terry Lewis Stevens. I'd like to know why this meeting is not being broadcast or at least videotaped so the public could be watching it at home, since it's so vitally important. Is it being videoed?
It is. I was just watching it on my computer.
Live streamed?
Yes, I was watching live stream and then I came in here.
fun. Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Terry Lewis Stevens. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Please. Motion, Ms. Laughlin. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. I look forward to working in the future.